What if history isn't random? What if events, separated by decades, or even centuries, are connected by a thread you can't see? From twin brothers with the same fate, to presidents with parallel lives. Here are the strangest coincidences in history. 14 years before the Titanic sank, a writer described its fate with chilling precision. In 1898, Morgan Robertson wrote of the world's largest luxury ship, the Titan. It was declared unsinkable, carried too few lifeboats. And on a freezing April night, it struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic. When the Titanic went down in 1912, every detail matched. The size, the boast, even the name. Too exact to dismiss as coincidence. And here's the chilling part. After the disaster, Robertson's forgotten book resurfaced. Retitled The Wreck of the Titan. Was it a mere fiction, or a prophecy history refused to ignore? In 1975, in Bermuda, a man riding his moped was struck and killed by a taxi. A year later, tragedy struck again. His brother, also on a moped, on the very same street, was hit and killed. Both were hit by the same taxi, driven by the same driver, and carrying the same passenger. Two brothers. One street. One taxi. One fate. In the French and Indian War, young George Washington rode into battle. Muskets fired from every side. After the chaos, soldiers swore they saw him untouched, though his coat was torn by bullet holes. One shot had flown straight at his chest, certain to kill him, but instead of piercing his heart, it struck a book he carried in his pocket, and stopped Washington, the man destined to lead a nation, spared by the pages of a book. He said, "I am a living witness to the hand of Providence." Coincidence? Or was the book itself on a mission to save a future nation? Two presidents, separated by a century, yet tied by chilling coincidences. Lincoln elected to Congress in 1846. Kennedy in 1946. Lincoln became president in 1860. Kennedy in 1960. Both assassinated on a Friday, beside their wives. Lincoln shot in Ford's theater. Kennedy in a Lincoln, made by Ford. And the most haunting twist. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary, Lincoln. John Wilkes Booth. Born 1839. Lee Harvey Oswald. Born 1939. Booth shot Lincoln in a theater and fled to a warehouse. Oswald shot Kennedy from a warehouse and fled to a theater. 100 years apart, entangled by a web of impossible coincidence. In Finland, 2002, fate played a chilling trick on identical twin brothers. One brother was cycling down a quiet road when he was struck and killed by a truck. Just 2 hours later, on the very same road, another accident occurred. The victim was his twin brother. Same road, same fate, just hours apart. Both victims killed by the same truck driver. The driver of the truck claimed that he never saw them coming. Two lives, bound together from birth, and taken in the most unexplainable way. A story far beyond our control. In 1835, Halley's Comet lit up the night sky. And on that very night, a child was born. Mark Twain. Years later, Twain declared, "I came in with Halley's Comet. And I expect to go out with it." A bold prophecy. That seemed impossible. But in 1910, as Halley's Comet blazed across the heavens once more, Mark Twain drew his final breath. He came in with the comet. And he went out with it. The master of the macabre, Edgar Allan Poe, lived a life as strange as his fiction. He wrote a novel about a doomed shipwreck, In his story, a few men survived. Starving, desperate, until they killed and ate a young cabin boy, named Richard Parker. 46 years later, a real lifeboat capsized. 4 survivors resorted to cannibalism and ate a cabin boy. His name was Richard Parker, a name Poe had written half a century before. Is this a coincidence? Or something unexplainable? 2 of history's most infamous leaders, Napoleon and Hitler, lived more than a century apart. Yet their lives seem like mirror images. Napoleon came to power in 1804. Hitler in 1933, exactly 129 years later. Napoleon invaded Russia in 1812. Hitler in 1941, again, 129 years later. And both met their downfall. After those disastrous Russian campaigns, even their rise and fall followed the same timeline, separated by 129 years. 2 men, 1 pattern. When the Hoover Dam was built in the 1930s, thousands of men risked their lives to tame the Colorado River. The very first recorded death was on December 20, 1922. A worker named J.G. Tierney, who drowned while surveying the site. Years later, after the massive dam was nearly complete, the victim was Patrick Tierney, Tierney's son. The Hoover Dam's first and last deaths. Father and son. On the same day. Coincidence? Or fate sealed in concrete? In 1893, Henry Ziegland broke off a romance, leaving his lover heartbroken. In despair, she took her own life. Her brother, furious, swore revenge and shot Ziegland before turning the gun on himself. But fate twisted. The bullet only grazed Ziegland's face and buried itself in a tree. Years later, Ziegland tried to cut that very tree down using dynamite. The blast hurled the buried bullet free, and it struck Ziegland, killing him instantly. The bullet he escaped finally found its mark. A life, a death, written by the cruelest hand of fate. Again and again, history delivers coincidences that defy belief. Kings saved by books, leaders bound by numbers, lives ending on the same road. So the question is, are we simply watching chance at play? Let me know what you believe in the comments. And if you want more stories that challenge everything you thought you knew, like, subscribe, and join us for the next chapter of history's mysteries.